Greetings, historians. Welcome to Lore of the Dragon. There's been a bit of talk about a certain character recently, more specifically a twisted, more sinister version of him. It's actually a subject I've been asked to cover before, but up until now, to be honest, I didn't really see the need to, so I wanted to allocate it to a larger subject. But seeing as his presence is threatening yet another world, I thought it'd be wise to inform the less knowledgeable of Spyro's history of this creature. We're going to be delving into the stories of Dark Spyro, uncovering each detail that is available to us, and perhaps speculate on his newest forms, or even beyond that. So, our travels will first take us to the legend of Spyro, during an event called the Night of Eternal Darkness. A young dragon, the purple dragon Spyro, had gone after a dragoness who he had recently released from the clutches of the Dark Master, Malefor. But once again, she would be captured, as she ventured off to find who she was. Their journey would lead Spyro throughout the realms, eventually leading him to a wellspring of dark energy, the Well of Souls. Here, he would engage in combat with one of Malefor's generals named Gaul, one of the many apes under the command of the Dark Master. Unfortunate consequences would find Spyro as he fought in this dark place. As they battled, the Night of Eternal Darkness fell upon the land, releasing creatures of a darkened heart and dark energy. And Spyro was forced into a beam of this energy shooting through the middle of the well. As the energy flooded his body, his scales returned to jet black, his eyes started glowing white. Whatever control Spyro had over himself was swiftly taken away, leaving the young dragon of power not even aware of what surrounded him. Soon after, Gaul would be the first victim of this new form, being taken apart until nothing stood. It would only be a few moments later that both Cinder and the dragonfly Sparx would bear witness to Dark Spyro, as the purple dragon was once again trapped in the beam. Cinder, knowing what these dark powers could do, jumped and shoved Spyro out, freeing him for the time being from the dark powers. There would only be one other moment when Dark Spyro would appear in the Legends dimension, occurring 3 years after the Night of Eternal Darkness. In the Belt of Fire, a ring surrounding Malefor's fortress, the Fire Guardian Ignitus, Spyro, and Cinder traversed through the roaring flames, normally prohibiting their entrance. But with the power of the Guardian, the path had been opened. But even with the skill and power of Ignitus, his protection started to falter, and eventually he was forced to sacrifice himself in order to bring Spyro and Cinder across safely. In his anger, Spyro was taken over once again by the darkness, being consumed by the inky black corruption of dark aether, and then flew toward the fire to find Ignitus, disregarding his own and Cinder's safety. But with few words, Cinder was able to snap Spyro out of his rage and grief, saving him from the darkness, and his certain demise. Outside of this, there is no other mention of Dark Spyro emerging in this dimension. For the best, no doubt. We approach the dimension of the Skylands, where strangely, Dark Spyro appears again. Now, there is an ability Spyro has in this dimension that might help to explain why Dark Spyro appears so much, and why he fights for good in this dimension. While the Skylanders of this dimension possess abilities pertaining to their main element, or equipment to enhance that element, Spyro's abilities more reflect those of his Legends counterpart, meaning that Spyro contains the innate ability to harness the power of each element, be that fire, water, earth, etc. But it has been observed and noted by Spyro that he prefers to use fire. Now that you're armed with that knowledge, I will go into the origins of Sky Spyro's alter ego. A device known as the Core of Light, made to fill the Skylands with light and keep the darkness from overtaking the Skylands, fell under attack. Spyro rushed to its defense, but the encroaching darkness would lead to the creation, or either recreation, however you look at it, of Dark Spyro. The purple dragon would begin to shake, his scales being soaked black due to the dark powers. His spines, horns, and chest would turn to silver, and his eyes would burn red. But Master Eon, a mighty wizard and leader of the Skylanders, cast a spell to stop the corruption from fully overtaking Spyro. Now, whenever near darkness, Spyro is able to switch between the light and the dark, but he wasn't able to do that without training, focus, and discipline. In an unfortunate series of events, in part from a desire to learn where his ancestors were, Spyro traveled to the cadaverous crypts, dominion of the Dragon King Malefor. But instead of learning from the Dragon King what he wished, he was taken captive and held as ransom. In turn, he wished his daughter, Cinder in this case, to be returned to him, as she now resided with the Skylanders. Of course, the deal was not to be, as Malefor planned to keep both Spyro and Cinder, whether or not the ransom was paid. But a sorcerer known as Chaos would intervene, claiming that Malefor would hand over the downed Spyro to him, later telling the Dragon King that this order came from an even greater sorcerer, one who Chaos called Father, Strykor. Most likely out of fear or respect, Malefor handed over the unconscious purple dragon, and after being delivered, Spyro was sapped of his light by Strykor as a means to fuel his own power, and finally bring him to reality. And from there, Dark Spyro was brought forth. His scales would reflect those more of the other Skylanders dimension than the legends. The start of a trend you'll see as we travel to the remaining dimensions. From here, Dark Spyro would sneak into the ranks of the Skylanders, disregarding questions of his new appearance and voice as nothing more than him acquiring new powers. He'd regularly spy on the Skylanders, reporting his findings back to Strykor. In addition, he'd attempt to put the Skylanders and those allied with them under his control to find a map to an island called Arcus, along with many other attempts to undermine the Skylanders. But to some extent, he exerted a hint of free will, becoming more like his original self. But hesitation only led Strykor to tightening his grip on the Dark Dragon, leading to a confrontation between Dark Spyro and his previous friends. Fortunately for the Skylanders, they were able to apprehend Dark Spyro, holding him down as a Skylander by the name of Popfizz concocted a potion to restore Spyro to his prior state. While this had the desired effect, it also had an adverse consequence. Now, Dark Spyro is separated from Spyro. Without the spark of light within Spyro, the Dark Dragon had nothing but hatred, contempt, and malice left in him, especially for what he claimed to be his weaker counterpart. They both eventually would take to the skies, battling each other with fire and fury. But, as one might imagine, Spyro came out on top, ending his dark self, erasing his dark stain upon the Skylands. As we move away from Skylanders, we see that Dark Spyro appears again, but apparently only as a sort of cameo, an alternate appearance when Spyro met Crash Bandicoot on the track. Nothing is known about this Dark Spyro, only that he shares the same color scheme as his Skylanders counterpart. Speculation might lead us somewhere, but I'll leave that to you in the comments. More is known about this Dark Spyro than the one from the previous dimension, but in comparison to the rest, we know so little. His objective would seem to be taking over this dimension, but outside of that, all we know is that he's a separate entity from Spyro. As he notes, he's finally free, and Spyro mentions that he is in pursuit of both him and Gnasty Gnorc, an enemy of Spyro. Because of this information, it can be assumed that Dark Spyro is in league with Gnasty Gnorc. Possibly the former was freed by the latter. I also speculate that the Magic Crafter's portal that cropped up in this alternate version of Crash's home is a gateway to another dimension, but it also can be taken that this portal leads to another realm in this dimension instead. What we know for now is limited, but hopefully more is revealed. After this, there is nothing we can do but speculate. In the case that you do wish to speculate on any future encounters Spyro might have with his dark alter ego, I recommend stopping by the comments section. See what others are saying. Maybe mention a theory of your own. Or rather, there is a Discord link in the description where you can do speculation and talk lore not only on this subject, but many others. We also have memes, so if you're into that, you can join for the fun there too. But if you just wish to stay informed about topics that are upcoming or plans for the channel, you can check out the Twitter page for Lore of the Dragon, or the community tab here on YouTube. Anyhow, after all of that, if you just wish to follow the channel as these subjects are released, you're more than welcome to do that as well. That's going to be it for me. I'll see you the next time we talk and speculate. Stay safe, historians.